So you was actually my first official interview of the year. So I appreciate
Let's
it.
go.
Thank you.
Come on. Welcome to After Rehearsal Behind the Music. I'm Daniel James Collective. Today we have the honor of sitting down with Be Free. Welcome to the pod. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
We out
I
here.
am my own air horn.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. So, at the top of it, I think with it being some of the most recent things, let's talk about NAMM and your experience there. What was that like?
Ooh, well, first, thank you guys for having me and joining me. I am a musical Swiss Army knife. So I am a singer, songwriter, producer, musician, primarily in voice and flute and some piano. And yeah, I just recently relocated to Los Angeles a little over a year ago with my husband from Milwaukee. So one of the things we wanted to do since being positioned here where the heart of like the creative industry is just go to all the things. And one of the things that I wanted to go back to for sure was NAMM. So if anybody doesn't know, that's the National Association for Music Merchants Conference. They have it every year. And it really has just turned into this big networking and performance and community opportunity for any kind of person that works in the entertainment industry in general. And honestly, I was not prepared. My first year it was 23. But that's when it was their first one right after COVID. So it was a little bit condensed. But it was a little bit slower paced. And at that time, I also had access to like the VIP stuff. So I was able to get into like the classes. They also have like courses and sessions.
So it's like a whole convention and conference too. It's not just a bunch of people playing over in the exhibit hall.
Exactly. It's a whole week's worth of just amazing stuff. And I loved being able to take advantage of that. I didn't get to do that so much this year. But I knew that my husband, he's been a few times. He was like, listen, it's going to be bigger. Like the exhibits are going to be much, much bigger because they're now back in full form. They're back in January. It felt like I was taking a day-long field trip. But every time I went 2 days. And I tell you, like the first day, I just had on my Converse hikes and I was just like checking it along. And I still didn't see everything, but it was so cool to test out all of this cool gear. To get content, because I'm like, of course, I'm gonna get into it, yeah. And then also, I got to meet some in person for the first time, some amazing other fellow creatives from TikTok and from social media too. So it was really dope. By the time I went on Saturday, I was really, really spent. But I was like, well, we're already here, so I'm just like make sure I get to cap off the experience, and that was dope too. I got to see some performances. Some more friends of mine were out there. My husband also got to perform for a little NAMM jam that Thursday as well. So it is exhausting. It is a very exhausting ordeal for anybody who's never gone before or wants to plan on doing it. To get your rest, take your naps, and eat your Wheaties. And bring snacks and water because you underestimate how much all of that thing can really just take into account of your personal experience.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Did anybody... was there anybody there that you were just absolutely starstruck by and you're just like, oh my goodness, that is...
Every single year, Stevie Wonder comes to NAMM, and I have never been able to see him. It's like the infamous thing. Like, he just pops up out of nowhere. And I was so distraught when I found out the last time he was there. I was literally in the building. I was upstairs in a session, and he was just downstairs looking back on when. And I was like, oh my God. So... This time, I went to the Warm Audio booth, which is in a whole other building because it's in the Anaheim Convention Center, and they could shut up the whole thing, and all the audio stuff is in this own wing. So I was over there because a friend of mine, Josh Bryant, Josh 2300 on Instant stuff, he had a concert, he had a show, and I just went there to see him, and he was like, "Yeah, it's a little delayed." I was like, "Why?" He was like, "Oh, because Stevie Wonder's here." I said, excuse me? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, he over there. I was like, it literally felt like slow motion. Ding, 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 ding. And I was like, oh, wait, that's what this whole crowd is about. And I
love that.
It was amazing. I didn't get to touch him. I was like, he had something. His security guards were nice. They were pleasant. They were smiling.
You didn't get to touch the hem of his garment?
No, exactly. Exactly. I didn't get to, I wasn't blessed. But I did get to see the back of his head.
Come on.
And then when he turned around to leave and I saw the sea of people following, I got to get footage of him in the front of his face. And I was like, oh my God, I just saw Father Stevie, y'all. That's amazing.
I love that. I love that.
And I saw Herbie Hancock, which was random. I wasn't even expecting it. He just randomly walked past me at NAMM, and I was like, wait, I literally had to like look up his Insta to make sure that was his face, because I don't want to be making a fool of myself. And it was him, but he was gone by the time. It was like, wow, that was super low key. He had like one guy with him. Like, you go ahead. Herbie is cool.
He's smooth. He's smooth.
Yeah.
And I love that you're big enough where everybody knows who you are, but also not as easily recognized because people are not used to seeing you in spaces.
Yeah, exactly.
They're used to seeing you on a stage, but like, I love that to be able to you can just maneuver. I love that. So let's talk about where everything started music wise for you. What was the journey like, the origins, and what was the path like to get to where you are now? Because I think a lot of times we kind of stop like, yeah, and then I played this, and then that was great. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but how do we here now, so how do we get there?
Well, I don't think this is something I would have been able to avoid. I grew up in a very, very creative family. Both of my parents are also musicians. My father is a bass player. He sings a little bit. And then my mom, she played piano and sang as well. So I've literally like came out the womb. Before I even was here, like it was something that I was constantly exposed to. But I just, out of me, I'm also the oldest of three. Like we all have different like areas of art or something that we are all interested in. But I think that our parents, I never really felt like it was forced upon me. It was just something they were always doing anyway, or like utilizing. So I think that I was able to like build my own genuine like curiosity and interest and love for it before I realized what I was even formulating. They had always got the little kiddie toys. Like I had like a little toy Fisher Price piano. Like I had been playing since I was like 2 years old, like all of that kind of things. Like it was just always there, for me. And then when I started to get a bit older, like elementary school age, and I started paying more attention to like the people who were in the industry and the singers that are around me, I have the very, very specific vantage point and privilege of being a millennial. So I got to grow up in the 90s, you know what I mean? Like, and when I feel like the 90s and the 2000s was like a very golden era of just the music industry and what was being done in their careers and creativity. And I got to pinpoint a lot of specific examples like, oh, that's what that looks like. I want to do that. You know what I mean? Ever since I was in like kindergarten, first grade, I think the earliest example had to have been like Lauryn Hill, because I watched Sister Act 2, but the very, very first person I was like, oh, that is what I want to do was Brandy. It was Moesha. I wanted to be a teenager. That was the job I wanted. I wanted to be a teenager, and then I also wanted to be a famous singer like Moesha, like Brandy, because I just thought her life was so freaking cool. So I've literally been on a journey and pursuit of stardom ever since I could remember. And everything that's come along with that has just always been that in the back of my head, because little Brittany's my real name, Brittany. She has always wanted to do this. And also it did not help that people were constantly gassing me up. You know what I'm saying? It was like, I also happened to like I developed a gift. You know what I mean? I developed a good amount of skill sets and, at a young age, and being able to see that and see people's response to what I was creating and what I was doing, it felt really good. So I was constantly just like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is the output or the result of doing said thing. I want to make sure I can put those two things together as often as possible. So that's really what I had been trying to do, still went through life, because even though I was pursuing this, like my lifelong journey, I was still going to school and doing all the things. I was born in Chicago. So also like love being able to have like that specific like impact on influence of my creative upbringing. We moved to Milwaukee when I was about 11, 12. So from then on I was there, but like being able to go to art school, I went to arts high school. I performed in anything you can think of ever since elementary and middle school. There's a talent show, I'm there. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't just music, my guy. You know, I danced in my 4th grade talent show. I remember my auntie Jessica, she was the coolest person in the world because she was a teenager. She helped me create a dance to Janet Jackson's Together Again because the Velvet Rope album was out at that time. And it was so fun. And I was just like, I just love being on stage, period, point blank. But music was always just like the strongest vehicle. And middle school was also where I first got introduced to flute, which is funny enough because I wanted to play saxophone. Saxophone was my first desired instrument because I wanted to be Lisa Simpson. I wanted to be able to play like her. But when I got in band, I couldn't make the embouchure wasn't emboussuring for me. So my teacher gave me a different instrument, and I was like, I never actually considered the flute, but here, whatever, it worked. You know, it fit. I got to make a sound out of it. So that's how I ended up learning how to read music, and it opened up this whole new world. And it was just like, it was at every juncture, you know, from high school and then college. I went to undergrad to get, I went to 2 undergrads. I went to UW Stevens Point, but then I transferred to Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, which is a HBCU. And there I got music performance BA. And then I went back to Chicago for grad school because after I graduated, I was like, well, I still don't have a job. You know, I'm like, the things haven't happened yet. You know, like I haven't gotten scooped up. So I was like, because whether or not you got a job or not, like Sally Mae don't care. So I was like, I'm going to go back. I'm going to continue this education. So I went to continue to get my master's degree. So I got a master's in certification in music ed. From Vandercook College of Music in Chicago, which I loved. I loved it. And then straight from there, I moved back to Milwaukee. I got my first teaching job. Taught for 7 years, K through 8, choral and general music, and applied voice. And it was just such a whirlwind, honestly, because on top of that full-time job, I was still doing this. We still pursue this, you know what I mean? And that's one thing I had to I was happy to have had the personal vantage point of or experience of showing people. People love to push the narrative of like, oh, if you're doing one, you can't do the other, or those who can do, those who can't teach. Well, I know it's all synonymous, you know what I mean? Because most of the people that teach also do, you know what I mean? They're just doing it when they're not here in your face, telling you how to do your own thing, you know? But it got to be too much. I was teaching all day and then performing and, you know, writing and doing everything on nights and weekends. It was 2 full-time jobs, essentially. I got sick end of 2013, 2014. I caught a throat infection from still don't know who specifically got it for me. It was like something you contract through children. It was called herpingina. Very disgusting. That on top of me also having what I found out was pneumonia led to a really this horrible bout of my vocal cords getting burned. They got singed. Yeah. And I could not talk. I could not sing. I couldn't talk for a very, very long time, but then eventually had to go to speech therapy. And then I couldn't sing formally for 11 months because I had to get vocal cord surgery to remove the scar tissue from my vocal cords from all the burning from the thing. So there's been a lot of up and down and in and outs of my life that I've just been like, is this gonna happen? And what am I really meant to do here if I'm not meant to do music? But that's another reason why I personally love being able to push the element of me being like a full totality creative. Like I'm a multifaceted individual. I'm a musical Swiss Army knife. Like, yeah, I sing and I enjoy it, but I also play flute. Because God forbid, if I wasn't able to sing again, that wasn't going to stop me from tooting. You know what I mean? Or that wasn't going to stop me from producing. Like the vast majority of all of my released work I've made. You know what I mean? So it's like there's always going to be something there. So now that I'm in this new space of finally making the jump and moving to Los Angeles, because I've always wanted to be here, I've actually just tried to redefine my personal definition of what success looks like or where my new checkpoints are, because the things that I thought that were going to be afforded to me are just not happening anymore. And I don't think it's anything that I'm doing wrong. I just think it's just the way of the world. You know, like we were taught by following a certain standpoint, or or path and everything, that you would reap certain rewards. And I've done the work, but I haven't gotten the things. At least not in my opinion. So it's really just but I do feel like, I do firmly believe that I was given this gift and given these specific stories and this art to share for a reason. I think I was brought here specifically for a reason, for my own growth, and trying to establish and figure out what that looks like is just going to be a new journey that I have to figure out. And then you talk about catalogs and sitting on things. Like that album I just put out was a very, very long time in the making. It's my third official independent release, but it took me really about 9 years to do because I've had so many false starts. You know what I mean? Like it was always, yeah. Or then I got to the point 2021. I had a good string of singles going. The first single from this album is actually with Duran Bernard. So I was like, okay, we about to do it. And then it's like, oh wait, but you're not, because the album's not done. And then now you're depressed about something else. And it's like, life just never stopped. So me getting here was like, bitch, just like, just put the album out. And I would have loved to have, like been here longer and maybe like developed but I honestly, people tell us too, because my husband's a piano player, but he's also an audio engineer. So people tell us all the time, we have covered a lot of ground already within the year. So I'm like, I can't, there's never going to be a perfect. It's never going to be, I could have waited a whole extra year to put out the album, and who's to say that meeting more people would have led to even more doors? You know what I mean? I don't have no way of controlling that. But now that I have released it, I can finally have this vantage point of like, this is a current snapshot of where I am now. Everybody hears things that I've done prior to, and that's great. I still stand by it, but I'm like, but that's still like, that was from like 10 years ago, or like 12, 15 years ago. I'm like, I would like to have this current version of what my work represents, and also this rallying cry that I've really just taken on, of just standing up for millennial creatives, because I feel like we really got the short end of the stick, and I want people to know that it's not our fault. You know what I mean? It's not that we are here. We are everybody, everything that you're going through, everybody's going through, and we're not crazy. Might be mentally unstable, but we're not crazy. And honestly, that's what the project is about. It's called Millennial Symphony, and every song is just me just venting. Like, why is this taking so long? Like, I did all the stuff you all told me to do. I followed XYZ. Why is this person getting this and I'm doing the same thing and I'm not? Or like, why am I depressed? Why my generation, or our generation, is one of the first ones for, really highlighting the importance of mental wellness and therapy. And, let's unpack that. What does that look like? Like, how does that sound? What is a song about? Me thinking about whether or not I want to pursue motherhood in my 30s as a creative. Like, those are the songs that are in all of us, that I finally can say that I at least contributed to existing or creating the conversation around. So if nothing else, I'm going to push the album. It's still fresh in my blood. It's still fresh. It just dropped in September. So every single month throughout this year, I'm aiming to just focus on a different song every month. Some of them might be mixed up. I'm dipping and dabbing, but I'm like, there's never going to be, in my opinion, there's never going to be a reason why I don't have something to say at least once each month about something throughout that entire project.
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And what a story, just coming through and overcoming so much in life to be able to get to this point where you're like, look, y'all don't promise some things and you did not deliver. And so what we're doing now is we're taking a lot of things into our own hands. Like, hey, I'm just going to do the thing.
Yeah.
And that's
millennials are the reason why I think like DIY creativity is popped. Like, obviously 100%. We had Master P and all those folks.
I think we saved TikTok.
Woo. Listen,
like I don't think all of this, like, I don't think that was just happenstance, right? Like, I really do believe that our creativity, our grit, our desire, and saying, hey, creator fun, we're going to do that thing. TikTok shop, businesses, being creatives, just releasing music, setting up a microphone and a camera and just going for it.
Yeah.
I think that's us.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
So talk about the journey between albums. So that's the journey to Millennial Symphony. But what about the journey between the other two albums and how we got here?
It sucked. That's the story. No, I feel like because like I've had so many unintended bouts of adversity that gave me like setbacks that I wasn't prepared for that also contributed to that 9-year span. Because my sophomore album actually turns 10 this year, which is really wild to say. But I was in such a popping space in like around that time where I was like, cause I pushed it for like a good year and 2 years. That led to like more performance opportunities. I always used to lament 2018 very badly because I was just like my career at that point was just like cracking, like I was balancing everything well. I had been fully recovered by a few years from the surgery. I was singing again. I was performing. I'm still teaching for at least for another year after that, but got to like do a lot of cool performance things in Milwaukee. I got to open up for Janelle Monáe on her Milwaukee tour stop. Like it was like little things that gave me like glimmers of like, oh, I think I'm on the right path. You know what I'm saying? This is giving me a taste of what I want and what it could be. But not ever really having the tools or know-how of like how to expand upon those moments, I think is a huge deficit for a lot of people in the Midwest in general, because we are left with no other choice but to rear our talent because we don't know what else to do with it. You know what I mean? There's no specific infrastructure in the Midwest. I mean, Chicago is its own like thing, but they still suffer from the same problems. Like there's no definitive infrastructure like it is here and other places where it's like, oh, here's what you can actually maybe take that and see where you can go. Ain't no guarantee or definitive thing here either, but at least the things are happening. You know what I'm saying? It's like, at least there's rooms to get into, or like fellow like-minded folks that are also doing the same thing that might be able to show you what else you can do with that beyond this point. And I don't think that I had that in the Midwest. A lot of us just end up chasing our tail. But with the tail chasing, we still get good. You know what I'm saying? I'm still honing my craft. You know what I'm saying? I'm still practicing. I'm still getting better. I'm still working and developing myself creatively and artistically. So there was just so much of that happening. And whenever I couldn't figure out what I was doing next, I made it it was really COVID, honestly. COVID was the turning point for me when I was like, I'm going to retake things by the reins. I was like, I'm doing something. So March of 2020, I was like, I'm going to start doing daily covers throughout the whole month of March because it's Women's History Month. And I'm going to do a different song by a woman who has influenced my career since I've been a kid. And that's how that started. And that turned into its own thing. And then was like, oh, I think that kind of helped me create a sense of like creative identity. It was like, if I'm not making my own music, I am still pushing it, but still making it. But if you don't know the new things or what's happening, you still know this. This is the baseline of who Be Free is as an artist, if you know nothing else. So that was cool. And I think that having that experience just gave me the continued like persistence, like this I'm always in perpetual album mode this entire time because every little thing I would make, I'm still tweaking, still coming back, still rewriting, still re-recording. Don't ask me how many times I re-recorded a number of these songs on this album. Like, especially because from COVID, my husband, Quentin, he also took the advantage of building out our own recording space because it wasn't safe to go to studios at the time because I was like, I ain't trying to get the cocoa. So we really just... So from that, we now have this like whole like one-stop shop like infused into our home life. Like this is all, I can create and at my own whim, but with that I think also comes just too much free will, because it's like when you have a time constraint from paid time, that kind of makes you be a little more decisive and focus about your creativity. Whereas when I know that I can do it whenever I want, however I want it, I'm never not editing or never not changing something or like coming back to something. So I think that was a great deal of what I had to like just shake off last year. If I'm like, if you're going to get this album done, it needs to get done now. So yeah. And it was like, life never stopped. Other like uncertainties came up with health and, you know, things that I was like, oh, I think that I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here. You know what I mean? Like we all have of that sense, but it was like, I'm very dramatic. I'm a Virgo. So it was like every little thing that happened, I was just like, it was just another setback to me when I was like, because look, I had no control of those things and I had no idea that they were coming or when they were coming. The one thing I do have control of is you finally putting this album out and getting into it. Yeah. So that was my focal point. And I was like, 2025, I don't care. I don't care what it looks like. Let's do this. I know I have enough general information over the course of my career, because since I've been doing this, of how to at least basically put out a project, and that's what I did. So, yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
Talk about who has been your inspiration, and I know we talked a little bit about that when we were talking about NAMM and things like that. But who would you say is? I'll be specific in this. Who would you say are artists that are specifically influencing your sound today, and what parts of them have you taken into your music?
You know, it's interesting. When I first started my career, because everybody's been doing everything like since they were kids or since they were younger. So I always reference the formal beginning of like my career, you know, as far as like releasing work, you know, that was 2012. So I was a whole different artist than I am now. And I think it's because I was very much, I got swept up by the neo soul era. You know what I'm saying? I'm a natural hair girly. So it was like, but also I found so much of my personal identity in what I was creating. I was loving everything. Like I was listening to pop music and R&B, like S Club 7 and like, you know, like Britney Spears. I was a very round the way musical fillet. But I felt like neo soul, like Jill Scott and Music Soul Child, specifically hearing their stuff when I was in like middle school age, and finally it helped me start to develop my own voice and my own, what does my, you know, creative like output even sound like personally. So I think because so much of that was rooted in there, a lot of the things that I created was still very much coming from like either like a 90s-esque R&B or a very much definitive neo soul place, which is fine. And I don't knock that. It's still very much infused in what I do. But I think that as time went on and I started to like expand my sonic palette, and people got introduced to me, it opened up a whole new world. I think that's one of the things I really appreciate about being able to produce my own music. You know, if I'm inspired, I'm not waiting to hear like somebody else's creation to see if it matches the vibe. You know what I mean? Like I can create the vibe as it in real time, ideally. But over time, like, oh, who is this person? Frank Ocean. You know what I mean? Like, what is this Nostalgia Ultra? You know what I mean? Like, that completely, like, I have very impactful, like, albums or artists that I felt like jolted me. Like, I felt like a strike, or like some kind of a shock in me creatively. Like, wow, I didn't know art could sound like that. And I think I specifically pinpoint Nostalgia Ultra, Kendrick Lamar's Section 80 mixtape. That sonic, like I had never heard anything at that time that sounded that like that. And then I think one of the most impactful albums still was Black Swan by Smino. And I still to this day am like so like drawn into that whole sound, because him and Monte Booker, his production partner, like nothing on the market sounded like that. It was, and I'm like, oh, this is like Chicago. This is the Chicago sound right now. Even though he's from like St. Louis, but I was like, this is the sonic. I was like so enthralled with everything. So I took all of that, and then the culmination of stuff that I was like still, I think it gave me permission to do other stuff. And honestly too, the covers that I was doing, they were all steeped in different genres. You know what I mean? It wasn't just neo soul artists. It wasn't just this. It was like, oh, I can dibble and dabble in just about anything, as long as I'm having fun with it. So all of that, I feel like really just impacted my, like, what is it that I want to do? And one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to be put in a box. I actually had a Zoom interview during the Coco, and somebody, I don't remember what the conversation was rooted in. It was something similar to this. Like, I had lots of musical conversations, and he said something of the sort of like, oh, it was talking about Lizzo. It was a comparison to Lizzo. First and foremost, he was very. I didn't appreciate the things that he was saying because it was. I'm always also, since I'm a girl's girl, so he was trying to like make it like a good versus bad kind of situation. Oh, well, you would never do that, or you make good music, or you're like. I was like, how do you know that? I really thought about it afterwards. I was like, how, sir, do you know that I will not go to a Lakers game with my ass out? And you know what I'm saying? You can't put that upon me. Like, if I so will it to be so, I'm gonna get into it. Yeah. So I didn't really like, and I realized that there was like this like squeaky clean. There's like a very specific connotation that people place upon you when they think they have your sound figured out when it comes to like neo soul and R&B. And I did not like that. I was like, no, because what you're not gonna do is box me in. I saw them do it to Music Soul Child. I liked it on my radio. People hated that song. You know what I'm saying? But he wanted to like do something different. He was like, no, I live in Atlanta. I'm in ATL. Let me make some of the stuff that sounds like what I'm surrounded. And the people were like on his back. No, just friends and la 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 la. I think that was like, okay. So from there, I'm like, I'm just gonna make it like you'll have a core sound from me, and I think my core sound is really just millennial-esque vibes because that's the strongest thing that influenced me or impacted me. But there's so much of everything that I just mentioned with those like few artists and stuff that I am always gonna like be drawing from because I don't want you to think that make up decisions about my personality and what I can and can't do based on how you think my music sounds.
Something I love to ask to performers is talk to me about the differences in your who you are naturally and aesthetically versus what you become when you perform. Just tapping into that, whether it's a completely different character, personality, or just the zone and what that feels like. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand the differences. I've seen, for example, Tank and the Bangas from when they performed in Minneapolis right after they won a Tiny Desk concert all the way to later music, and then finding out just how shy Tariana is.
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, I'm very shy. But getting into that performance mode, she's like, mess with me.
No, for real. I love that. It's like everybody has their own variation of Sasha Fierce to a very specific degree. You know what I mean? It's funny because I feel like my personality as a whole, it depends on how close and well, like, you know me, like I'm an omnivert, or it's how a self-diagnosed omnivert, because I can present as an extrovert depending on the situation, especially socially. You know what I mean? You never know what flavor of the chip you're going to get with me when you open my bag. However, when it comes to like the stage or just performing, I've always personally felt like I may not know how to talk to every single person, or I may get nervous about networking, or I may not know how to keep this conversation going. But that thing, I know at least what I'm doing because it's instilled in me. It's like you've been working on it your whole life. Even if you were to forget everything you were taught formally about notes or anything, it's all still about that feeling. And one of the most freeing feelings that I've ever experienced in my life has come from being like fully in my musical bag on stage, And I think that it's just a zone. It's a zone you have to allow yourself to go to. And I don't even think everybody always realizes it, but the fact that we're all like generally able to identify that, I think is dope. Because also, for a lot of people, their performance persona is armor. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, like this. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like we're there. This is still a part of me that I maybe aspire to be more like, or you know what I'm saying, or maybe this is the part that I want you to take away more than anything else. There's always something beyond like the depth of what you're seeing on the surface level of folks. So I really just try to show up and have as much visible fun as possible, but also I love the personal feelings of connectivity in different like situations, depending on the size, depending on the intimacy of the crowd or the purpose of it. Like all of those things affect me, you know. So I'm still gonna do my job, even if it don't feel good or not. But when it does feel good, and when it's on really like hidden, like that makes me open up even more. It gives me permission to take creative chances and like reel people more in. And like I think that we're all kind of just in the same moment together when that
Yeah.
happens.
Speaking of, you touched on a lot of really great things. So talk about the musical bag, and really unpack that. So a lot of people think you can just get on a stage and sing like you normally sing, but when you see people like Jasmine Sullivan and Brandy and even Layla Hathaway, like a lot of these people when they perform, they come with a versatility of you're never going to see the same show twice. You're never going to hear the same runs done in the same favorite song because there can be nuances. We're going to this chord, the arrangement changes. It all, like you said, varies depending on the environment. So, what does that musical bag look like as far as how you change things up, how you approach music, how you adapt to the environment itself?
Yeah. I think that the musical bag is like a Barney bag, if you will. That's the first thing that came to mind when you said it and explained it, because I'm like, you have to, and that comes from experience. Like everybody's bag starts empty, to me personally, you know, and what you pick up along the way from having been in those different environments or been in those different situations or learned different things or how to manipulate or develop your gift, all of that goes into the bag, and it's really just a matter of trial and error. You know, like I have this there. Let's pull it out and see if it's gonna do anything. You know, sometimes we're all going along for an adventure. Sometimes Barney doesn't turn into a dinosaur. You know, I think, but the people you mentioned, like, oh my God, like what I love about all of them is that they all have. First of all, I Layla, my God, to have somebody that has such a very specific figure as a historical music figure as your parent, you know, like we all know and love Donnie, like that's just a given, you know, but to be able to have that, but still you are your own force, you know what I mean? Like I don't even honestly, the fact that her being Donnie Hathaway's daughter is a mere after fact at this point, because I feel like she spent so much time and intentionality with developing her personal gift over the course of her career, and seeing that has just been truly amazing. And I feel like, honestly, too, with Jasmine, you know, like I don't know her, I would love to meet her, but I'm like, I know so many friends that know her. I'm so like 2 hands of degree separation, but
Oh snap!
like,
When
you know,
you made that connection, let a brother know.
listen,
Whoa,
but
whoa.
exactly, but she's really started. She's been doing this just as long as me, just as long as all of us. You know what I'm saying? But it really was around the YouTube era that we all finally started to see, like, oh, that's what's happening in Millie. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I love being able to see that and know, and like, oh no, they put the work in. Like, there's actual work and boots to the ground with like developing and performing and trying and going different places and being in different spaces and seeing and being able to watch that exponentially develop and grow over time, has all just been like that. If we do nothing else, I think that's a blueprint. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm going to get from point A to B or what I desire to, but I can at least do that much.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. Talk about, so you spoke a little bit on going from the Coco and not being able to go in, not being able to go in.
I got to get that patented.
Yeah, for real. I think other things that we used to say were nobody's gonna be going outside in this Ponde replay.
Lord have mercy.
So we talk about the pandemic shut down, not even being able to, or feeling safe and comfortable to go into these sessions, shared mics, spaces, air, all that stuff, to having your creative space now where you can be distracted or be focused within it. Talk about how you view your creative process. So distractions aside, because we know that that happens for anybody who gets into the space. When you decide to pull up samples of songs, pull out a song from the vault, start something completely fresh, what does your process look like from when you start a song to finishing a song?
Well, as far as like developing the space, like it's funny because like even when I was still formally recording, like I only needed to go to the studios to finalize the ideas. You know what I mean? All of the creation and initiation of the ideas all still came from me in some room. You know what I mean? Whether that was my bedroom in grad school. I actually loved the time I spent in grad school because that's what led me to doing all of this. As far as like, I didn't have like a specific chip on my shoulder about like, oh, like it's hard. I learned this later on. You know, it's really hard to find other music producers, or I can't find a beat, or like find somebody that matches my vibe. I was just more so like, I have it here. So I'm going to learn the tools to figure out how to get it from here to the computer. And honestly, it was a music technology class that I took in my undergrad at Lincoln that opened up that whole world for me. We had a music project that we had to record on this system called Mixcraft for PC. And that was my first time ever working with a digital audio workstation, a DAW. I had never seen them before, didn't know what, I knew something was happening in the studio or how they was like recording whatever, but I didn't, that was my first time putting like a visualization behind it. So once I got to grad school and I had my little financial aid check, I was like, well, I'm going to buy me a Mac. It was like, because it's PC. Exactly. Listen, it's how we lived. It's how we lived. But kind of just having this very like intentional and homegrown independent creation process from there has always been like the pinpoint of everything I've done. Like I started off just like making stuff from GarageBand. You know, how can I make this sound like what I think I hear in my head? Then as phones developed, because before we used to have all these little tacky flip phones, the more phones developed, the more tools I now have. Because now a great part of my creation is my phone, because my voice memo library is deep. Okay? There are so many ideas. But yo, you go ahead. Yeah.
Have you found out that you can put everything in folders?
I think so. Let's come back to that.
So when so that was something I didn't peep until later. So like you got voice memos for days. On the bottom, you can select to create folders, and then you can drag those voice memos to specific folders.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So now I separate them by project.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely, don't give me more things to do. you know how that you
I'm just trying to keep you organized.
You open up a whole can of worms now.
I'm just trying to keep you organized.
And you know I'm a Virgo, so organization is my bag. So it's like, but to just like summarize, the voice memos are actually really, really important because I may not be in a situation. People are rarely in a situation where inspiration strikes them, where they can act upon it. You know, I might be outside, I might be in work or doing something or in the store. I like being able to come back to my phone, just, you know, or like I'll leave notes for myself, like, yeah, A minor, K-tronada groove, pump it up. You know, like I'll tell myself things as much as possible about what I'm feeling in the moment. And my job then becomes to take that and try to make it sound as close to what my beatbox was or what this idea was or what I didn't get to physically play it out, but can you make what you're describing? You know what I mean? Like that happens a lot. And also like, I'm not like I do dabble in sampling. Like it's never been like my full focal point. I kind of have this indirect sampling about my music productivity. And what I mean by that is I'll hear something and I'll make something that I think sounds adjacent to it. Like I won't necessarily like, oh, like that's that. Oh, for great example. One of my favorite songs from Music Soul Child is Just Friends. Just Friends. Yes, too. But Half Crazy. Half Crazy is my favorite Music Soul Child ever. And I love that beat, that 6/8, that 3/4, that walk. Exactly. So that groove just it's permeated into my brain. So one of the songs I made from my second album, like when I was playing around with, I was just like making like little ding, 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 making something like a jazzy piano, and the next thing I know, I have a whole groove going. So now I have a 3/4 song. Now I got my own little waltz R&B John happening, and I'm like, that's a great example of like how I also create. I've never been a personal stickler of like. Because I'm like, it's only so much music to exist. And music, if people have done all the stuff that can be done, to me, I personally think every new thing you sonically hear, it's because somebody else did something that inspired them to do it. You know what I mean?
Facts.
It's all perpetual.
There's just new people hearing it for the first time.
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm always like hearing things or infusions of stuff that I love or that have impacted me, and finding ways to incorporate that into like the base of what I'm doing, you know. But sometimes, depending on the inspiration, it takes me a very, 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 very long time to make a formal, like a full song from top to bottom. Like it'll take months. And if the mood is striking, if time is flowing, it can take a week, you know. I don't remember the last time I made something fully in a day. I can't remember what last song that might have been. But I do know that at this point in my creative development, my voice memos are my like life hand, and I need to make sure I'm backing those up correctly now that we talk about it, because there's so much potential and untapped gems in there that I just know can be expounded upon in so many different ways. So that's like the essential basis. As long as I got my phone, but more than anything else, I have the freedom to be in the creative space. I got my Logic, got my mini board, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, something I did with my voice memos is I not only put them in folders, but then I airdropped my voice memos to my Mac.
Yeah.
And then put them directly into my hard drive. My external drive. So then no matter what, I'm good to go.
Yeah. I got a lot of backing up to do.
With the life of an artist, whether we are signed with somebody or independent, it's always going to be a grind. You're still pushing your music. You're still trying to grow your audience, whether you have the extra resources and things like that. But mainly your job, once you release the music, is to make sure that more people hear it every day, whether it's posting, sharing, finding everybody in your contacts that should be rocking this thing, because why am I still under 1,000 listens? Talk about that grind and what that feels like as an artist, to put so much into the craft and then to follow it up and have to put so much daily into having new audiences and new voices and new content every day.
It sucks, Daniel. That's going to be my short answer for everything from here on out. No, honestly, excuse me. I've never not enjoyed creation. So I feel like initially, especially because it was easier when everybody was inside, I personally feel like my career, like obviously the in-person connectivity that I was building from performing everywhere in Milwaukee and doing all the things prior to the Coco was great. And I had a bit, but I do feel like as far as like being able to reach beyond my city, none of that would have happened if it weren't for me being able to have specific time inside to like, okay, well, I'm going to make this a thing, like to focus on the creative presentation, if you will. The personal creative presentation. That's pretty much how I look at it. And the possibilities are always endless. I think where things get frustrating is coming up as a millennial. I draw back to it so much, but I feel like because we saw people with actual talent follow a specific like path and trajectory, and with time and with hard work, A plus B eventually led to C. But now I think that we are in a world where this is just unfortunately and I'm not saying don't do it because of it, but I just think this is just the facts. Like, these are the breaks. It is such a very, very, very saturated field to be a musician because everybody can do it. It wasn't. We were seeing these people, and the only point of access we used to have to really good music was because they were signed or because they were like in the machine, or they were like, we were being presented with the product, and then we had ownership of that by going to the concerts or getting the CDs and learning it. But now, especially since the digital era popped off and streaming, every single human being literally has the capability with their phone to become an artist. So I think it gets hard. It's the same way like with TV, like in scrolling. We don't realize that we're doom scrolling. I think we all naturally doom scroll when it comes to music and musicians, and because there's so many that we're constantly being shown that your brain doesn't automatically differentiate as quickly that this is actually something really good. That's hard to compete with. That's really hard to, because, and then of course, with the more that social media develops, it's now more about how much money do you have to put behind the visibility of your work. Before people started having to pay for ads as much, it was still just about, hey, if this gets some traction, then it can get out there. But since the companies realize the value behind that, they're like, oh, you want success? You want 1,000 people to see your stuff? Pay for it. And that it's like little by little more and I think that's also where like a lot of my personal frustrations have always come from as a millennial artist, because I've watched the goalposts shift my entire life. I've always done everything that I was told would get me to the next level. It wasn't about not being well practiced or well rehearsed or good at my thing. It's because the goalpost keeps shifting and the goalpost keeps moving, and we are all just left to chase our tails and just do our best to like adapt with what we're left with. But nobody really knows what that looks or feels like anymore. That's always going to be a gripe of mine. And I think that's another reason why I was saying earlier, like I appreciate so much when anybody randomly takes the time to comment on my video. Because especially the TikTok, I have 19,000 followers, and I can put a video out and 4 people look at it. You know what I mean? Like, that's insane.
Algorithm is crazy.
Right. The math is not math. So the fact that one person, you know what I'm saying? This one person saw something I put out and it impacted them to the point of commenting. Hell yeah, yes, because it's almost like you saying this to me on the street. There could be thousands of people in the street, and you came up to me because you saw me do that thing. You know what I'm saying? That's how I'm treating. That's the only thing I have control over. And I was like, I have no freaking clue what I have to continue to like work and redefine what my idea of total success looks like, because it's all just got dismantled, honestly. So that's something I'm personally working on. I don't have a definitive answer for it yet. But I think that in today's day and age, those are the only forms of tangibility that we really can like latch onto. And people, that's why I try to be like, I have a newsletter, and I try to be intentional about talking to them, like my Patreon community. Like, I'm just going to tell y'all what's going on. Y'all have the full, if nothing else, you can at least know, even if it's only 2 of y'all interacting with me, like those 2 people are my circle. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are my ride or dies. Y'all can tell the other people what's happening with B because you actually listened and paid attention, Right. So
that's valid.
That's all I can really do.
So you talked about, just really being a world of doom scrolling, right? And just being going through, sorting through the FYU pages, explore pages and things like that, and how it affects music as well. Talk about, in your perspective, how that's affected music, taking a look at your latest album, Millennial Symphony, and how the average track is 4 minutes long. Whereas a lot of tracks today are less than 2.5. Mm-hmm. But the music we came up on, even on the earlier part of the 90s and prior, like I was just talking to somebody about good music that you could just rock, like a Prince song live could be 15 minutes for one track.
Yeah.
And you could be in one particular spot. So talk about how the attention span has really changed with music and your approach to the length of songs versus the virality of music.
It sucks, Daniel. I'm telling you. So yeah, totally, it goes everywhere. Yeah. No, you know what? I'm bringing up the album too. I didn't care. I really didn't care because there were so many people, even knowing how good, and I can toot my own freaking horn. That album is freaking good. You know what I'm saying? I know, and it's from I listened to it as a music consumer. I listened to the project prior to putting it out, so I know what it was hitting for before it even may reach the airwaves. I'm like this. I cared more about the message behind the totality of the project and what I needed to say from this vantage point of my life and time right now, rather than trying to like, because there were so many reasons and so many things that could have like, oh, you could have like, oh, for example, I have some friends, I won't say their names. They're actually thriving really well right now. They also left Milwaukee and they've been performing and doing all sorts of like, I see them at the Grammys and their award shows and thing on, they're doing great. And then every time we like link back up to like just powwow, everybody's always checking in on what we got going on. So I did mention that this project was coming out and they were like thoroughly trying to convince me that I shouldn't release it. They were like, because of the proximity of where I am now. Like, you're in Los Angeles now. Like, this means that you can, meet new people or like maybe like meet somebody that can help put it on a label or do all these things. And I think for me, it was like, if I knew how to do any of that already, I would have did it. Or I was like, yes, the whole goal and hope of me putting myself here now is so that I can eventually be in those spaces. But one thing that has definitely, my bubble has been burst a lot this whole year. Just because I'm here don't mean it's going to happen. Like it's a very slow grind still, no matter what. This is me starting over at the bottom of the next level of my career. That's the best. I got that from a different TikToker. Like, I love Chastity the singer. Chaz the artist.
Yes.
Like, no, it's
yes. I love her. Yes, I love her. Yes.
Exactly. I was like, that who knows how long this journey will last. You know what I mean? So me waiting for that to happen or to develop into something to impact whether or not I was going to do anything with the project was just not worth it. Also, I did experiment. I have a song. Prior to the album full coming out, I did put out a song in 23. It's called "I Produce My Own Ish," which was just like, I have something to say and I'm gonna say it. That's actually a pretty short song. It's like around the 2.5-3 minute mark, and I did that on purpose because I just wanted to see what it was hitting for. You know what I'm saying? And I love that song, and even when I perform it live or do it, I'm like, it still feels very abbreviated. You know what I'm saying? The full messaging of me and the delivery of my creativity has to come with a verse, chorus, and a bridge at minimum. You know what I'm saying? So I'm fine with that. I know that I have the ability to condense my messaging for the circumstances that call for it. But as far as like the heart of my hearts, I think the more time that I'm allowed to show the development of what it is that I'm trying to say in a song, the better. So that was really all that I really cared about. And I think a lot of like albums still matter. You know what I'm saying? To the people that I appreciate people that are shifting back to, I'm slowly seeing it like this year, like people are really putting a call back to fight against the doom scrolling and the perpetual access that streaming gives us. People are like calling for more, like, no, physically buy this album, physically buy this CD. Let's go to a Goodwill and get you a CD player. You know what I'm saying? They still exist. They're still important because there's a very specific relationship that is curated between artists and their supporters that is in that connection. So I love people that are pushing for that. And I'm still trying to do the best that I can I got to get my merch game on lock. But you know what I'm saying?
Come on,
like,
merch game. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, no, so there's still, we live very much in a cookie cutter society and everything is like microwaved and AI is doing what it does. I have no qualms against helpful things. That's like, do my taxes, please. Or like, write these emails for me. Like me and Chappie Tisha got a very specific managerial relationship. We're having it right now in my career. She helped me plan my whole rollout. But at that same thing, it's like, I'm always going to just value the basic level of connectivity that comes with the art that I create and the length of time that I allow myself to make it in.
Last two super important questions.
Mm-hmm.
This is one that I ask every artist for the intentional reason of why I do this podcast, to It's called After Rehearsal Behind the Music to really give us an opportunity to look beyond the music that we make, all of the stuff that we do, to see the humanity of the artist.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the lowest point that you have that you remember professionally, personally, or otherwise. What did it feel like being there, and what things did you draw upon on your way out to get towards where you are now?
Wow. I was not expecting this question at all. I'm so glad I didn't hear it beforehand, because I would have had I'm not, honestly, because I would have had like a very curated answer. I think it sucks that I have to think about which point as opposed to like the point. Because honestly, like throughout the course of the last decade, let alone the last like 13, 14 years, there's been so many unexpected hiccups. That thing with the vocal cord trauma, at the time, I thought that was the worst thing that I was going to have to deal with. And it felt like the end of the world. Like, it literally felt, because I had people were the worst. Like, people were reminding me about Julie Andrews, the woman from The Sound of Music, because she had like vocal cord surgery, because she had nodules. I also had like some very small nodules that had developed on my vocal cords in the middle of all of that. Right. So people were not, it was like, oh my God, your voice may never come back, and la la la. And I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to sing again. And I was very depressed because I don't have, at that point, I'm like, I don't have a really definitive identity outside of music. That was that point. Fast forward a few years later, more things happened. 21 was it was a pretty, because it sucks because I started on a very high note. Spring of 21, I put out Hate to Love with Durand. Then from there, I had a nice little trajectory going. I was like, oh, here's another single that also will likely be on the album. And then not only that, but I'd filmed a video for it. And that was August. And then I just kind of kept the ball rolling. And everything felt and looked really good. I was like, I'm going to finish it. The album wasn't even done yet, mind you. I was filming videos for an album that wasn't even finished. But I was just so confident that by the end of that year, I was going to be ready for a top of the year release, February max. I had a meeting with somebody in the industry that I thought was had set up the meeting in order to help me. But they really ended up just telling me all the reasons why I needed to stop pursuing being an artist. Because it was gonna end up in like disappointment, and how I was gonna keep trying to push against the grain for nothing, because it was gonna fall upon deaf ears, because the trajectory of the world has changed, and like everybody, all the stuff that we know to be true. But to hear somebody like formally like give me reasons why I'm not going to likely succeed, or why I'm going to end up depressed, made me guess what? Depressed. So that was also, it took me a very, very long time to climb myself out of that. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what it meant to exist in that like notion, but because it's like naturally as humans we're taught to like, oh, just push past it, your success will be the best, adversity. I'm like, no, that, because I actually, like, even to this day I still struggle with that conversation, because I see so much about what they were saying still happening, and I'm like, I don't like the fact that they put that in my head, because now I'm constantly wondering like, well, am I succeeding or not? The most recent thing was, and this is very personal, but I talk about it on my socials all mine. 24, I found out that I have BRCA2, a BRCA2 gene mutation. So what that is every person has that, those specific gene makeups, but if they mutate, that is a hereditary trait that is associated with cancer development. And both my mother and my maternal grandmother both had breast cancer. They're still here, thank God, but it was because of my grandmother first getting it, stage 3, and then my mom then getting tested because her mom had her finding out she had stage 1. They were like, okay, there's obviously a hereditary trait happening here. So they found out that my nana had that, and then all the women in her family needed to get tested, because pretty much what it means is that I have a higher likelihood in my lifetime of developing breast cancer. So once I found out I had that gene on top of every freaking thing else that I've overcome, I literally, it was horrendous because the rest of that year from like May until September, I had to go in and out of the doctor because they needed to know what my current health standpoint was. Do you have cancer? What do you look like? What is your actual genetic makeup currently like? Do you have any current tumors? So many doctors, so many things. And then the year it was just it was a lot. But I was also planning still to move here. So if I turned out to have cancer, mind you, that was going to upend all of this because I was like, I'm not going nowhere. I need to stay put and figure out my life. So graciously at the time, and then also a year, and I got checked and everything came out clear. So I don't currently, and I'm speaking into existence, I don't have it. But it's like knowing that that's always like lingering over my head. There's always going to be something to make you not okay. And I think that me having something every 2 or 3 business years that just like knocks me completely off of my intended path was another reason why I put the album out, because I was like, God forbid, what if something changes? What if one of these test scans come back and they tell you actually do have to start chemo and you have to do, I'm not speaking into existence. That's just my reality. I was like, I'm going to regret not having put in the project out or not having taken advantage of being well when I was well and doing it, and getting into it. Yeah. I was like, if you move, who's to say this? I'm like, I don't like the what ifs. I very much hate uncertainty. It is my enemy because I'm a Virgo. I live in that. I wear it on my sleeve. I thrive best in situations where I know what's going on and how to do it. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm like, all of those things happening have just shown me like there's a greater purpose. And until I figure out what that is, there's never going to be something. There's never going to be a safe moment, if you will. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as a safe moment. The only thing I can do is try to gather everything that I can from what I've been given and the vantage point and privilege of being well in this space and time, and just try to hit the ground running as much as I can. So those were all very specific in different weights, mind you, but they all like very much played a part. And I know when I'm pulling into like a dark space, because I know what it felt like to be there, but the things that pulled me out were honestly just having the space to rest and just know that at the end of the day, this is still something I love. If nobody was watching, if nobody was doing it, I would still do it, because it's a part of who I am.
Wow. One, thank you for sharing that. I know that was not easy.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I actually wrote a song on the project. It's called Maybe Baby. That was encompassing like the whole like internal battle between whether or not I was going to have children and all of that stuff. And I wrote that prior to me having a whole situation with uterine fibroids that led to me having to like get like a partial hysterectomy. It's like there's always every 2 to 3 business years, it clocks it. It's always something. But if nothing else, I'm going to make the art that tells you about what the experience was like. Yeah. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
No. I was going to say, too, through all of the things happening in your life, what I'm also seeing is someone who is sustained and who is overcoming. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times we want to have overcoming become like, okay, cool, I'm at the top of the mountain, I'm finally safe. And just like you were saying, that Chastity said, when you get to the top of there, you're at the bottom of the next one.
Yeah.
And so I see a life that's sustained. I see a life that's literally driven by and sustained by faith. And through your next generation of who's coming from you, whether naturally or adopted or whatever, or TikTok children, look the way that we be taking folks in. But I think in your life, I'm gonna definitely be prayerful to see you break the chain of those things.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's not fun or easy all the time. And I feel like people commend me often on my like perseverance, which I get it because that's what they see, you know, but I'm also like, y'all have no idea how hard it is to show up because I don't know if it's going to happen. It's always the if. And that's another reason why I value like the project is very niche. I get it, but I'm also like, this is shit that I had. Sorry, can we curse? Okay. It's just that I had to say. It's shit that I had to get off my chest because I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna work. Like I'm doing what do you want? Like what's I Kyries, what do you want from me? Like I'm doing all the things and this keeps coming to a standstill. Like it's not easy. I want to give everybody permission to talk about that because everybody only sees the grind. Everybody only sees the perseverance and, you know, like you sustaining, and that's great. I'm glad that I can at least, you know, be perceived as somebody that's surviving through the uncertainty. But at the same time, I'm like, I really just hope that at some point, one of these journeys, because it's never going to be over, but I hope one of these journeys like at least shows that all the other stuff was worth it.
Next year, I want to go to NAMM. Mm-hmm. And I want to go to Grammy Week. Even if I'm not at the Grammys, I want to be a part of the thing.
So you gonna plan to like stay a week then? Because they're back to back. That's the thing, right? I knew it, but I didn't realize it till it happened.
Yeah. Like, hey, I'm down. If I plan it right, I'll make it happen.
Yeah, NAMM is. I mean, obviously, if you get to go to the earlier week portions, dope. But specifically, it's that Thursday through Saturday, and then the immediate week after that is Grammy Week, leading up to that following Sunday. Okay. So this was the first. I went to the Grammys for the first time in when we moved here, top of 25. But I didn't go to any parties or nothing, none of the events or nothing like that. So this was my first year actually doing Grammy Week. And let me tell you, that race from NAMM Week to Grammy Week is what led me to getting sick. I'm telling you, because if it's not about you being around a million of people, it's about the pacing of constantly being outside or constantly doing things or just rest and lack thereof or just trying to. So I'm giving you advice. It's like,
look, choosy this day.
yes. No,
I think I'd rather do NAMM just off of like being able to connect and network, not only for the collective, but I think it would be a cool opportunity for me to do quick interviews. But then also, like, if I get a suite, I have an extra room or a lobby or whatever, I can say, hey, stop through later. I'd love to do a sit-down interview and have a setup up there already ready to do it or whatever the case may be.
Hello out there, world. Listeners of the pod, my name is B Free, Musical Swiss Army Knife. Get into it, yeah? And I'm here talking with Daniel about my life and project, which is Millennial Symphony. I just released it as my third independent project, self-produced, mind you, and it is about the struggle, life, and qualms of the average millennial creative. There's something on there for everybody, and I definitely think that if you give it a spin, then you will win. Get into it, yeah? That felt very genuine. Off the dome, Daniel.
I love that. She's done this before. Y'all. You are tuning into 103.9.
Exactly. Kiss FM.
What is next for you? Music, projects, collabs? What is next? What you got?
I'm gonna tell you what's not next. I am not releasing a solo album for a while. This was a lot, and I need to let this body of work breathe. Yeah. And it deserves to. As long as it took me to make it, I'm going to keep pushing it because especially the more I learn about, there's a lot of songs on this project that are very syncable. You know what I'm saying? And intentionally so. The more I learn about stuff, I'm like, no, people can still have stuff from their catalog from 5-6 years ago that gets put on that TV show or gets used for that. I'm like, the sync world is still elusive to me. I still don't understand quite how to get into it. Yeah. But I'm like, there's a lot more to be built. There's a lot more stories to tell. There's a lot more content to be made, a lot more music to be performed. My album will get the chance to become a toddler and thrive and be a part of my full thing. But my current thing right now, because I'm in LA, I am trying to really solidify my presence as a known musician and creative here. I did a great job, I think, the first year hitting the ground running with just going to all the open mics and popping up on jam sessions. And I have a really dope community of creatives, but I also still needed to be like, my name needs to be synonymous in circles where I'm not in the room. You know what I mean? Like, that's the next level of development that I want now that I'm here. That's my personal thing. So, and also my husband and I, we have our own brand as well. Like, we have a duo act called Be Free and Q. I'm trying to make sure that we solidify that here, because people know about us already in Milwaukee, but we have a residency coming up, a jazz residency coming up in the spring, which is going to be dope. We have a podcast that we actually do. We launched last year. It's called The Love in the Loop, which I love. Thank you. Yeah. So like really just building that more. I just want to just find balance, because my career has taught me, looking back upon everything until this point, I spend so much time in go mode that even when I'm resting, it does not feel like I am. And even when I do, it feels like it puts me days and weeks behind. I don't want to always be in a position where I'm feeling like I'm failing because I'm not juggling 18,000 things. And I don't have the vantage point of having a team. It's not that I don't want one. It's because, oh, this is getting layered, but like I saw somebody say the other day, there was like, people assume that when people that don't ask for help, it's because they don't want it. It's like, no, it's because you asked for help and somebody didn't do the right thing. I understand that vantage point very well, because I did have several avenues that I needed help with this project, that I ended up just having to pull the reins back and just do it myself, because I was like, I gave somebody else creative control over it, and they're not doing it right. But also there's been instances where I have asked for direct help with certain things, or for management, and they've just said no, unbeknownst to me, so that I don't like the fact that I wear all the hats anymore. It used to be like an armor. I say musical Swiss Army knife because it's the easiest way to describe myself, but I would rather not have to answer, like, be my own, like, booking manager, or I don't want to have to always find the things. Beyonce don't register her own music. I'm sure she not. I would love to have somebody be my admin person, like, I want a team, damn it. Like, I would love to, but until that happens, I have to be okay with some kind of variation of a slightly bare minimum coming of output from me. It has not happened yet successfully. It's only been for like 40 days of the year. But that is my personal goal, is like, this year I am not burning myself out. I don't care. I am so tired of looking up in December and having smoke coming out of my ears. So I am trying my best to focus on the bite-sized goals, the things that I can do to continue to minimally push the needle for myself and for my other creative endeavors. I want to act. Like, I'm the person who is my number one inspiration at this moment in time is Tiana Taylor. I love her. Because I love the fact that she is pushing back on this. I had a music industry thing that I went to last summer, and I introduced myself as this, multifaceted, and the person like cut me off and was like, oh, you can't, like, you need to focus on one thing. And I was just like, again? Excuse me? And it was like, no, like, because that's going to confuse people. They're not going to know what to focus on. And I was like, well, what about Jamie Foxx? And what about Keke Palmer? And what about Raven Simone? All these people that I literally look up to that are all the things. They are actors and comedians, and I'm a comedian. Get into it, yeah. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm giving him vivid examples. And he was like, yeah, but they all still focus on it one at a time. And that messed me up too, because I'm like, well, what the hell am I doing? Why was I given all these aspirations and gifts if I weren't meant to do anything with them? But seeing her talk so much recently about staying, like, at the weight, the weight felt like punishment. It does. But it's like she still has spent this whole time carving her own unique path because nobody else has done it. Like, she happens to have talent and skill in all of these different things, and she's making her creative life make the most sense in totality. That is what I fully, fully, fully aspire to do. I want to have freedom to make my music and not rely on it not working or popping. Well, that's okay, because I'm still acting. I'm on a sitcom. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, that's not going, okay, let's do a movie. Okay, let's voice a cartoon. Like, there's so many things that I enjoy and I know I can do, and that I greatly, greatly believe that that's part of the reason why we were brought here. So I'm going to just take a slow pace at unfolding what all of that looks like. That is the only job that I have.
And rest.
And rest. I see the fact that I didn't even say that intentional rest. Intentional rest is definitely a part of my and learning what that actually looks like, and detaching the guilt from actually doing that. So
sleep is not laziness, nor is it the lack of production.
Not at all. They used to build into us. They sleep, we grind. I used to live on that midnight CEO moniker. I hate it now because I'm like, no, but I am tired. I am in my 30s. It's not cute anymore. We can't just down a Red Bull in the morning and go pop up. No,
it do not work like that at all.
Exactly. So we shall see. I would love to see what by the time the pod comes, or even just about a year from now, it will be really great to see how these things develop, but also even doper to see how the collective develops.
Come on.
And by you planting these seeds and building this community and seeing how everybody now sees we're in our Dolce vibe. You know what I'm saying? I'll let you know her like YouTube's.
Yeah.
And she's just like building, like just watch. This is what we're doing. So I think it's going to be really exciting to look back on.
I'm looking forward to just being able to grow in that process along with everybody else and get intentional rest in the midst of it.
Intentional rest. That is the hidden value of hidden value. It's not like ranch dressing.
Hidden value. That's what I was trying to say.
It's the hidden value of 2026 is what I meant to express.
Well, Be Free, I appreciate your time. And this has been a beautiful 2 hours. This
has been a wonderful conversation. This is literally my favorite. And I'm trying to find ways to like say this on Threads more. But I'm like, that's hit or miss. Threads is just a sounding board. I love it. It's better than Twitter for me. But I'm like, I'm trying to let people know, like, I enjoy doing this. I have lived so much life in a very short amount of time already. Like, I should be a Lifetime movie special. Like, I think that I make interesting material for people to interview and talk to. So any opportunity to share it I appreciate it very much.
I would love to. Thank you so much for your time. And get rest.
What time is it?
now you're asking what time it is to
I literally had to. No.
I'm supposed to move me, but my lack of faith is hurrying me. Trying to decline all the waters that be worrying me. What if I fail or never be nothing? Or what if I meant to really be something? So how do I find out so I can see something? 'Cause what if my